This week, Gulfstream's G650 has been granted provisional certification by the FAA. Hawker-Beech is a major and unexplained snub from the U.S. Air Force, and it's a banner week for Boeing. I'm Ashley Hale. Welcome to a holiday edition of Airborne on Aero TV. The FAA has granted a provisional type certificate to Gulfstream for the G650. This clears the way for the company to begin interior completion and preparation for customer deliveries in the second quarter of 2012. The 4 G650 aircraft in the flight test program have flown more than 2,225 hours during more than 675 flights. One of these aircraft has a fully outfitted interior, allowing the company to confirm weight production and test new features, including the cabin essential design for redundant cabin systems. 7 production aircraft have flown in preparation for the induction into final phase manufacturing. More than 20 aircraft are in various stages of initial or final phase production. Hawker-Beech received notification Friday that its AT-6 had been excluded from continuing in the Light Air Support or LAS bidding process, and company officials say that the decision has left them confounded and troubled. Hawker-Beech officials said that they have been working closely with the Air Force for 2 years and with its partners have invested more than $100 million preparing to meet the Air Force's specific requirements. The company says that they have requested a debriefing from the Air Force and will be exploring all potential options in the coming days. Kansas Republican Congressman Mike Pompeo, who represents the Wichita area, said he was disappointed to learn that the AT-6B proposal was excluded by the LAS competition and that he has demanded answers from the Pentagon on why they made this, quote, very unfortunate decision. It was quite a week for Boeing. A&N Editor-in-Chief Jim Campbell looks back.
Hi, Ashley. Mel Brooks once opined that it was good to be the king, and this week the king of everything in aviation appears to be Boeing. The company is basking in the glow of what it says was a history-making week that resulted in orders and commitments for a solid 359 airplanes. Boeing has now set a record for 777 orders in a single year with 192 to date, strongly going past the old record of 154 set way back in the old days of 2005. The company also announced 2 record-setting deals with Emirates and Lion Air, as well as other deals during and after the Dubai Air Show. The Lion Air side of the deal was so big that it got the attention of our esteemed president, who, despite his anti-aviation efforts, didn't pass up an opportunity to try and take credit for the whole thing, stating, and I quote, "The U.S. administration and the Export-Import Bank in particular were critical in facilitating this deal," unquote. Lion Air committed to buying 201 737 MAXs and 29 next-generation 737-900 ERs. The agreement also includes purchase rights for an additional 150 airplanes, making it the single largest order in the company's history. Emirates ordered a total of 50 777-300 ERs with options for 20 more, and Oman Air ordered 6 787-8s. That's a heck of a week in anybody's book, huh? For Aero-News, Aero TV, and of course Airborne, I'm Jim Campbell. Take care.
You're watching Airborne. More in a moment.
Redbird Skyport is a multifaceted aviation laboratory charged with developing innovative solutions to the issues facing the industry.
It started out as a vision for a laboratory where we could objectively measure the systems and the processes that we were developing. Being able to put some objective measures behind the anecdotal evidence that we have about the value of motion and the application of this technology is very, very important, because until we can objectively measure it and play that data back, we can't design training systems that make the best use of it.
For more information about Redbird flight simulations, as well as Redbird's new Skyport, visit www.redbirdflightsimulations.com or www.redbirdskyport.com.
This is Airborne on Aero TV. If you have a story you would like to suggest for Airborne, Aero TV, our website, or our podcast, send us an email to news-spy@aero-news.net. The NTSB has released what many will likely find to be an unsatisfying probable cause report in the accident which eventually cost Amanda Franklin her life. In the report, the board said that the airplane lost engine power for undetermined reasons. According to the report, the day before the accident, the Waco's engine had stalled while Kyle was taxiing to the ramp following a solo performance, but had run well otherwise. On the day of the accident, Kyle performed his normal pre-flight inspection, and the airplane was flown for a solo performance before the wing walking act with no problems. Tulsa Aircraft Engines, which had installed the engine on the airplane, inspected it for the NTSB. It found damage consistent with the accident, but no other anomalies in the engine. Once repaired, it ran normally for 30 minutes on the bench at various power settings. The board also found no apparent problems with the fuel or oil systems in the airplane. Video and still images of the airplane after it suffered a power failure showed smoke and flames coming from the engine's exhaust. At a news conference held in conjunction with the Halifax International Security Forum last week, U.S. Defense Secretary Leon E. Panetta and Canadian Defense Minister Peter G. MacKay emphasized that both nations are committed to developing the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, calling the airplane crucial to the defense of North America. Despite looming budget cuts, Panetta said that the F-35's capabilities are essential. He said he is, quote, very confident the airplane would be funded, continuing, quote, this is the fighter plane for the future, and in some ways we really have no alternative. This is a plane that is going to be able to provide the technology and the capabilities for the future, end quote. MacKay added that the program is moving ahead, saying, quote, clearly budgetary pressures are going to lead to speculation. We are dealing with our budgets as are all countries dealing with this budget, but we are not wavering on our commitment to this program. And now it's time for the Aero Video of the Week. For this week's AVW, you know those little quadcopters that can be controlled with a smartphone or tablet? Well, have you ever thought about what it might be like to supersize a little UAV to the point that it may not need to be unmanned? Take a look. If you've seen an interesting aviation-related video you'd like to see included on Airborne, send us a link to news-spy@aero-news.net. In just a moment, the inside story on that Cessna 310 ditching off the coast of Hawaii, and a captain stuck in a lavatory escalates to a terror scare. I'm Ashley Hale, and you're Airborne on Aero TV.
If you own a Cirrus today, or if you are considering the purchase of a new or used aircraft, consider this. Avidyne, in conjunction with the country's leading Cirrus sales and maintenance facilities, has launched the G3R9 program that combines the purchase of a late-model, low-time Cirrus aircraft and the addition of the Avidyne Integra Release 9 avionics suite for much less than you may have thought, and certainly much less than purchasing a brand new aircraft. G3R9, combining the best airframe, best engine, and best avionics for the best value.
Thanks for joining us this week. You can find more detail on the stories in this edition of Airborne in the archives at aero-news.net. The U.S. Coast Guard has released stunning video and a first-hand account of the events leading up to the rescue of a pilot of a Cessna 310, which was forced to ditch in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Hawaii. In the story, which can be found at aero-news.net, a Coast Guard petty officer tells the story of the pilot's initial contact with his eventual rescuers, how he was coached in the ditching process and then plucked from the ocean by a waiting helicopter while the airplane sank in about 6,000 feet of water. The best news is that while the airplane was lost, the pilot was rescued with no injuries. It's an outcome that the Coast Guard is known for and certainly likes best. Barnstorming is the name of Jim Campbell's popular commentaries that appear on the Aero-News network. As noted last week, these short editorial insights will not only be supplied by ANN's irascible editor-in-chief to Airborne, but will be open to others with viewpoints and insights that deserve to be heard by those who look to ANN for aviation news, guidance, and information worldwide. This week, Jim's got more than a few things on his mind.
Greetings, folks. Welcome to ANNHQ, and for those of you somewhat disposed to such things, happy holidays. I'd like to discuss a little bit with you about a kind of a pseudo-progress report that we're going to be following up with after the holidays. Talking about the initiative that we discussed over the summer called the Aviation Transformation Conference. Part of a massive effort that we've undertaken with dozens of our friends and following hundreds of conversations, some of them of extraordinary duration and complexity, to look at what's going to be required to make aviation a successful business, a successful recreation, a successful avocation, and a successful industry in the minds of the folks outside of it, so that hopefully the media and the general public and the politicians will get off our backs. There's a lot of different aspects. I've boiled it down to about 7 different working groups that encompass an incredible and diverse amount of material, so that hopefully we can put together a series of 6 or 7 meetings prior to the main meeting later this year, in which we're going to put together the better part of 200 really aggressive, creative minds, and think about first what's really wrong with this business, and then what we can do to put it right. I'd like to get your thoughts. I'd like to get your input. I need to hear from you. We've gotten such great input from folks. I've learned so much from you. And what I thought this was going to be is totally different now from what it was then. So I need to hear from you. And in particular, I need to hear from folks in the ranks, the folks who are really working this business. In particular, folks that are trying to stay alive in the aviation industry day after day. I'm talking about FBOs and flight instructors and flight schools and Part 135 ops and aircraft sales. What works, what doesn't work, and why? What are your insights? Share it with me, guys. Believe me, you help me, I'll help you. Let's put our minds together and see what we can do to recreate an aviation that not only works well, but flies, and flies well. For Aero-News, Aero TV, and of course Airborne, I'm Jim Campbell. Happy holidays, folks, and go on, go fly something. See ya.
And finally, on this holiday edition of Airborne, on a recent Chautauqua Airlines Delta connection flight from Asheville, North Carolina to New York, a jammed bathroom door caused the plane's co-pilot to think that the airplane was under attack. The New York Post reports that the incident occurred shortly before landing. The pilot stepped out of the cockpit for a bathroom break, but found himself stuck when he could not get the door open. He reportedly began pounding on the door, which drew the attention of a passenger seated near the front of the plane. The passenger, who according to the story had an accent that sounded Middle Eastern, tried to get the attention of the co-pilot through the locked, reinforced cockpit door. ATC directed the co-pilot to make an emergency landing, but the captain got himself out of the lob and back into the cockpit in time to assure ATC that there were no threats to the airplane. The Post did not say where the flight attendant was during the exchange. Get real-time 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories anytime at Aero-News.net. If you have a story you would like to suggest for Airborne, Aero TV, the Aero-News Network website, or a podcast, send us an email to news-spy@Aero-News.net. And join us again next week for another edition of Airborne here on Aero TV. I'm Ashley Hale. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.